In this tutorial video, I'm going to give you a brief overview of some of the differences that you'll notice in the upgraded version of NetSchool. The first thing that you'll notice is when you log on. First of all, you still go to the same website, which is netschool.nasdtx.org or moodle.nasdtx.org, and they'll both take you to the same place. As soon as you log in, you'll notice that the search box is the same at the bottom. So if you're looking for a particular course, you could still type in the name of the course, or like you're probably familiar with, you can always type in the name of the teacher, and it will pop up as well. One thing that is new that you didn't have before is this thing right here that says My Home. When you get to your home page, it will show you all of the courses that you currently have access to. So these will be the courses that you're assigned as a teacher in and that you're assigned as a student in. The great thing about this is that this page can be customized. So for example, if this is the most important course that I teach, I can just hover over these double arrows and move it around. But I want that one to be up top. If I wanted to switch around some of these other courses that I might not use that often, you can just drag those to the bottom. So this page is completely customizable. Another thing that you'll notice is it will also tell you if you have assignments or journals that need attention on this page. So for example, in this course, if there's a class or an assignment that you haven't viewed, it's going to show you in all of these sections. Once you get in your course, you'll notice that from the outside it looks pretty much the same. Most of the differences that you'll see happen when you turn your editing on. And one of the biggest differences that we notice is the drag and drop feature that you now have access to. What drag and drop is referring to is when your editing is turned on, as you can see mine is, and you're in an upgraded browser such as Firefox. That's a really important part, is that you have to be in an upgraded browser. We recommend Firefox. And then whenever your editing is turned on, if there's something you want to add to your course, like a rubric or some sort of worksheet expectations, you can just drag something directly from your desktop and bring it into your course, and you'll see that it adds the file right there, and it adds it very, very quickly. Another thing that you can do is you can add multiple files at once. We weren't able to do that in the last version, so I can drag both of those at the same time. You'll see both of them came over. And it really doesn't matter if it's a picture or if it's a Word document or a video, they all come in the same. So when you're out here, you add it and it brings over very, very quickly. When you want to edit your topic and add a picture, you can also drag and drop those as well. So for example, if I wanted to take this picture and add it to my course, I could just drag it in and it immediately brings it in. Whereas before, you'd have to go search for it, add it to your files. It's very simple this time. You just simply drag it in. I don't actually want this picture in my course, so instead of saving changes, I'm just going to click on cancel. Another time that dragging and dropping will be very handy is when it comes to adding a folder. So we used to have adding a directory, which means that you would have all of these items. Instead of listing it out here, it will actually go inside of a folder. So this time you will just add a folder, and I could call it project notes. And then anything you want inside of the folder, you can just drag directly into this box. So these can be from your desktop, or they can also be from your H drive. If you have that open, you can just highlight anything that you want and drag it directly into this box here. So for this one, I'm just going to select a few documents, drag it over, and I'm going to add this image and drag that in as well. Then you scroll down, save and return to course, and you will see your file is there, your file folder, with all of the documents in it. So you can see dragging and dropping is a big time saver, but the biggest thing you have to remember is that you have to use an upgraded browser such as Firefox. You can see that's what I'm using up here. Then you'll also want to make sure that your editing is turned on at the top right corner. So once those two things are taken care of, you should be able to drag and drop. A couple other small differences that you'll notice in this version are that now you can dock your blocks in your NetSchool course. I'll show you what I mean. When you dock something, it just means that it's going to move the block over here to the left. So for example, if you want to dock your settings, it's this block right here. When you click on this arrow, it'll just say move it to the dock, and you'll see it just pops up right here to the left of your course. So any of these blocks, if you don't want them to show up on the right, you can just dock it and it will show up here on the left, and then it removes things from the right side of your course. Some people like that because it makes your course look a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more neat. So you see that I just docked my calendar over there. Here's the grade me block. So I could pretty much dock everything over here if I want to. So that's what we mean when we refer to docking. If you can't find something, always look here to the left. And if you have something over here but you're not happy with it, you want to move it back, you can just undock it. It's the third icon, just says undock it, and then it moves it back over to the right. One of the other big differences that has to do with the formatting of the new version has to do with how you can add more boxes. Before you had to go into settings, now you can just scroll down to the bottom of your course and just add the plus sign, and it will add another box for you. Then you can add the minus sign and it will take away the box. Another thing that has to do with formatting is the way the boxes are titled. Before you had to have a number. This time you can actually call it anything that you want. So right here, if I wanted to title this box NetSchool Resources, I can give it a title. Whereas before, I could put a title, but it had to be right here in Summary. Just has it in a different section. So you'll notice when I save changes, it doesn't say Topic 11 anymore. It actually says NetSchool Resources. When it comes to activities and resources, there are a few more differences that you'll notice. The first one has to do with the activity chooser. The activity chooser has to do with when your editing is turned on and you would go to add an activity or resource. Before, you would have resources over here to the left and activities on the right. When you click on it now, it's just in one drop down with the activities up top and then the resources below. One of the things that I really like about this is when you click on something, for example, a questionnaire, you'll see it actually tells you what a questionnaire is to the right. And so that makes it a little bit easier to know which activities and resources that you're choosing. But other than that, it's pretty much the same. It just has the two merged together. Now, if for some reason you're not happy with having them together, you can always go back to the other by going into your settings and click your activity chooser off. And then you'll see you have it back the way it used to be. You'd have your resources here and your activities here. The only downfall to this is it's not going to tell you what a chat is and what a checklist is to the right like it did with the other. You're actually going to have to click on the question mark in order to get some more information. I'm going to go ahead and put my activity chooser back on. Another thing that you'll notice is that there are a few more activities and resources than we used to have before. One of the main ones that I think is going to be really useful is this right here for a checklist. And that just allows you to add things to the checklist and the students to add things to the checklist depending on how you have it set up. That way they can monitor different things that they've completed. Something for this would be if they were doing a research paper and you want them to do certain steps. It would just allow you to create a list, and it allows the students to go through and check things off. Another one that's different is this that's called flashcard set. From what we can see, it's not for a grade. It's just more or less for students to practice different vocabulary words. And you can add pictures to these flashcards and you can add audio. And it's more or less just a place for students to practice their vocabulary words. Questionnaire is also something new. It's very similar to journal, except you can add more than one question. So it's a questionnaire, something that the information goes directly to the teacher, but you can add more than one question, whereas a journal, you only had one question. And this also allows you to add different types of questions, so it's not just open-ended. If you scroll down to resources, most of these are pretty much the way that they were in the older version. Before it was add a file or website, so you can see those two are separate. File is up here, and then website would be down here. Before you could display a directory. This time we call it a folder, which to me makes more sense because it essentially is a folder. It just called it a directory before. And then the other thing is it just calls it a page instead of a web page. So what this is it just inserts a blank link into your NetSchool page where you can type in any information that you want the students to see. So overall, there are a few more activities and resources. And if you want to look into some of these a little bit further, if you look at the top of this course, it gives you some additional information on some of those features. And the last thing under activities and resources that is going to be really helpful, I think, has to do with duplicating. So right here, this is just a link to a video. If you want to duplicate that video, you would just click on this icon right here that duplicates it. So this one probably wouldn't be something you'd want to duplicate, but if you had like a quiz, you can just click on duplicate and it will immediately put another copy of the quiz directly below that one. You can edit the title and edit whatever it is that you need to. Another thing that I think will be really useful is when you have students turn assignments in, you can also duplicate that assignment. So I think that's going to be a really useful option the more we start working in the school year. So for example, if I want to duplicate this, just so you can see what I mean, it just says, are you sure you want to duplicate? Then you'll click continue, and you'll see it just will ask if you want to edit the copy or return to course. And it was that easy. So you can see you have 2 copies now of that video. One of the new blocks offered in this version is a block called Grade Me, and this is going to be really useful. You'll just add this block the same way you add any other block by going to add a block right here. Then when it adds to your course, it'll just let you know when students turn things in that you haven't graded. So it knows if you've clicked on it, and if you haven't clicked on it, it'll just let you know right down here that you have items to grade. One of the most important differences has to do with groups and enrolling students. Make sure you check out the next video that gives you a lot of detail to make sure that you have this set up correctly. In summary, there's quite a few differences in the new version of NetSchool, but as you can see, most of the differences will save you a lot of time in the long run. The most important thing that I can't stress to you enough is when you're editing your NetSchool page, make sure that you're using Firefox. As you can see up here at the top left, the browser that I'm using to edit my course is Firefox. Now as the student, it does not matter what browser they're using. They can use Internet Explorer, Safari, any browser they want. But for you, the editing teacher, when you're adding things, it's going to be a lot easier for you if you make sure that you're in Firefox. And just like all other things, if you have a question with the version of NetSchool that we're using, feel free to Google it or ask your IT coach.